Welcome to Mind Chats, My Network's weekly spaces where we explore transformative projects and technologies that are building a more secure Web3. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. We're really excited about today's guest. We're very excited to have one of the most exciting cross-chain projects in the industry. So as you guys probably know, if you're following My Network on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, we really believe in this multi-chain world where the number of chains is exploding. It will continue to explode. Just this year, we've seen the launch of more than 6 new major L1s with 9 or 10 figure market caps and dozens more L2s across Bitcoin and Ethereum. The Bitcoin DeFi space is exploding as well. So the question is, how do we lower the barrier of entry between these chains so that value isn't siloed, so that devs are not stuck on chain, so that we have cross-chain movement of capital and talent, human personnel, all those things. So this idea is called chain abstraction, and Connext is one of the most exciting projects to us out. I mean, right up there with CCIP. That's creating basically a whole new user experience and dev experience. So I'm so excited today to have Max with us. Max is the co-founder of Connext. And Max, let's just make sure that your audio is working. Are you there?
GM everyone, how's it going?
Hello, sir. GM. I forget. You're in Italy, so it's GA for you. Good afternoon.
Yes, GA, how's it going?
Well, man, well. I think, and I recall you're based in, you're based in Italy. Right.
Yes, yeah,
So,
correct, I'm in Milan.
yeah, whenever I talk to people from Milan, I just have to spend a minute to visualize being able to work out of that beautiful city and be in crypto. What an awesome place to be based in the world. Well, hey, Max, thanks for joining us today, man. Hey, would you like to just spend a couple minutes and give people your background?
Yes, absolutely, with pleasure. And first of all, thank you for inviting us to the space. We've been following my network and your progress for a while, so we're very excited about what you guys are doing. By myself, I currently lead the ecosystem at Connext that I joined almost 3 years ago. My background is in business and finance. Then started to get more into technology and got hooked up with crypto and blockchain back in 2017. And since then, I've been involved with various ecosystems. I'm currently a delegate at the Arbitrum DAO as well. So I'm really fascinated about the evolution of these organizations online, public goods, and the evolution of coordination on a world scale. And at Connext, my task has basically revolved around expanding our ecosystem, creating partnerships and synergies with other projects in the space. And my network is one of them that we are very excited about.
The feeling is mutual, my friend. So talk a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt you like an LLM. Can you explain to the audience what is or how do you explain Connect's cross bridge functionality? Explain it to me as if I'm a college student. Explain chain abstraction as if I am not familiar with coding or Web3.
With pleasure. I think the intro that you positioned with is very on point. Like the problem that we're trying to solve, or the world that is being built, the Web3 world that's being built, is a world where there are hundreds and soon thousands of new layer 2s and layer 3s, all these ecosystems that are being spinned up now even more easily, that are going to create a very difficult experience to navigate on. If you imagine somebody just jumping into the space from scratch, from the first time, they bump into an app that they want to interact with. Let's say a vault where they want to deposit their funds. And all of a sudden, they have to figure out first where they hold their funds, where they hold their money, then where the app is actually deployed. Then once they've done that, they have to understand how to bring their money, their funds into that chain where the app is deployed. Then they realize they have to buy some gas in order to get there, in order to operate on the on the destination chain. Then maybe their wallet is asking to change some RPC configuration. It's really getting chaotic and fragmented as an experience. And compare it with the normal Web 2 experience where you visit a website, you want to interact with it, you don't have to think about on which server, on which storage the information is currently being held. And so that's the type of that's the type of upgrade that we need to bring to Web3, right? In order to provide a very seamless experience. And so this is what Connext is trying to enhance, enable as an overall experience, an experience where you don't have to know or even think about where the app that you want to interact with is deployed. And so we are building the tools to enable this, and we're trying to make it in the most secure and at the same time capital efficient way for this future to be a reality.
You just you explained it perfectly. So I'm a Web3 user. I like one DApp that's on Binance. I like another one on Ethereum. I like another one on Solana. But in order to use these different DApps, I have to bridge my tokens and I have to move capital around and I have to calculate gas fees and that's a pain. So is what you're saying basically that in the future, I don't know when, we won't have to worry about this bridging process. We won't have to have all these wrapped tokens. Is that kind of what it looks like?
It will happen, but it will happen underneath, right? It will happen behind the scenes so that your only interactions will be with the app themselves, right? You will want to deposit on a specific app, wherever it is. You will just have to press a button, and then the whole infrastructure that is built underneath, the whole technological stack, will take care of that. And so this is this is the experience that I think everybody envisions, and this is where all these cross-chain protocol are working towards unifying and connecting the space, but underneath. So the user doesn't have to know that even bridges exist. Doesn't have to know that this is the layer 3 and not a layer 2, and then this is settling on a different chain and so on and so forth. And and by the way, this also obviously applies to developers at the same time, right? Because if I'm a developer, now I have to decide, okay, what if I deploy on this chain, then I'm completely isolated from this other ecosystem, and instead is growing fast. So do I need to deploy my app on two different blockchains? What if there are three? What if there are 100? Right? It starts to get very complex, and every time that I deploy uh, a new a new version of the app on a new chain, that's more code to maintain, that's more risk that I'm adding. And so instead, the idea really of cross-chain is to unify also for the developer experience this type of frictions and this type of fragmentation.
For future, for like in 2030 and 2035, I think with people coming into crypto then, we will have such bragging rights, those of us that were around now that get to say, no, we used to have to do all this manually. We used to have to
Yeah.
get a new wallet, track all of our passphrases, and we had to bridge assets and calculate. It will just be such bragging rights, I think, to say that we actually were here doing this now. But the future is so bright in terms of UX, and so I think it's an important thing to understand that there's a token standard that undermines all of this, right? So can you talk a little bit about how did XRC20 come about, and can you explain that?
Yes. So now, obviously, we're getting a little bit more into the technical details, right? Again, this is something that ultimately will be abstracted, but now it's important for people to know, to understand, and so they can learn the trade-offs that every solution provides. It all starts the xERC20 standards or concept started to emerge after last year when we had the issue of the multi-chain bridge. Multi-chain or AnySwap, as it was called before, was a huge bridge. I think they were holding more than 1 billion in TVL. Was basically forced to go offline by the Chinese government. Now, multi-chain, what they've done, they basically brought the tokens of different projects across the different chains. So that there was a service that it was providing. And what happens is that when a bridge actually brings your token to a different chain, the bridge becomes actually in charge, becomes in control of your token contract on a destination chain. And this is a massive issue for token issuers because if something happens to the bridge, similar to what happened to multi-chain, that was forced to go offline, then all the tokens that have been bridged there to a specific chain with the bridge, then they're stuck there forever. They basically become hostages of the bridge itself. So if the bridge was forced to go offline, and now all those tokens were basically locked there forever. Now, this kind of triggered a few thoughts in the cross-chain community, and so we gathered around with a few other researchers, with other bridges, and we said, okay, this is not the right way to do it, right? The bridges should not be the hostages. They should not hold hostages the token issuers. Token issuers should always be in control of their token contracts across the different chains. And so let's rethink about how these cross-chain tokens should work. And that's how we came up with a common standard, which is an EIP for Ethereum called the 7281, aka X as a cross-chain ERC20. So what this token standard does, it's a simple extension of the ERC20, so that's why it's called xERC20. That says instead of the bridges being in charge of bringing your token from one chain to another one, the token issuers should actually deploy the different token contracts on the different chains, and then whitelist selects which bridges they want to work with, so that those bridges are allowed to move your tokens across the different chains. And this solves two problems. The first one is, as I said, the token issuers in this way remain in control of the token contract. So if something happens to the bridge that you decided to work with, if the multi-chain of the turn is forced to go offline, you can simply decide to work with another bridge. You can remove the permission that the multi-chain has received and work with somebody else, like Connext, for example. And the second problem that it solves is that it really unifies liquidity across the different chains. Why? Because if one bridge bridges one token to another chain, let's say my token is on Optimism, the Optimism layer 2, and I want to bring my tokens to Arbitrum. Now, if a token brings my if a bridge brings my token to Arbitrum, it will create a wrapped version of the token that is being wrapped by the specific bridge. So it will be a specific flavor according to which bridge has brought it there. If two different bridges try to do the same operation, they will end up with two different tokens, actually, two different flavors on the destination chain on Arbitrum, which are not compatible to each other. They're not fungible with each other. And so this is where the liquidity fragmentation actually comes from. Like every bridge is trying to create, is actually creating its own different flavor. And again, this is not sustainable in the world of 1,000 chains and 1,000 bridges. So what xERC20 solves is that it says, one, token issuers are always sovereign, they're always in charge of the token contract. And number two, they can select which bridges they want to work with, whether they are the third-party bridges, native bridges, the one from the canonical ones from the chains. And all of these bridges can move the same token across the different chains, the same flavor of the token across the different chains. So you really have one version of the token now that can be moved around and unifies liquidity across all bridges, across all chains.
So the ERC20 protocol really puts the token issuer in charge of the bridge process. It kind of like aggregates all the bridges and lets you select and keep the token until a bridge is selected, and then makes the match, like to your flavor point, of fungible tokens after the fact. Is that right?
Yes, you as a token issuers deploy your token contract on a chain, and then say, hey, only this bridge is allowed to move my token, because I trust it. I know the Connext bridge is allowed to move my token, but I also want to be able to move the same token by the native bridge of Arbitrum, for example. So I can also whitelist the native bridge. And these two bridges are allowed to move the same tokens, basically the same flavor of the tokens, back and forth. And so I, as a token issuer, have control over who is allowed to bridge my tokens. but I'm also able to change my mind, and I'm also able to create a unified version of this token across the different chains.
So the token issuer creates the whitelist, and they can update that and
Exactly.
change that as they. That's
Yes.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yes, and the idea is that, of course, like things change. A bridge can get hacked. Unfortunately, you might want to add an additional one. So you retain the flexibility to give or remove these permissions to the different bridges, as it should be, right? Because you are the token issuer, so you should not be again locked into a specific bridge, a specific cross-chain protocol, but you should always have the ability to decide who you want to work with.
And what's the process for DApp builders to go from ERC20 to an xERC20 process? Is there an integration there?
Yeah, it's very straightforward. It depends a lot on the conditions that you're starting from. Like, do you have already a token? Are you launching a new one? If you're launching a new one, the xERC20 standard is a very, very light extension of a normal ERC20 token with the addition of two functionalities. One is this a whitelist system, and second is a mint and burn interface. So you need to find a way to, you can either upgrade your existing token, you can launch a new token with these functionalities, or if you already launch on a chain, you can simply wrap it, let's say, or convert it by what we call a lockbox, which is nothing more than a wrapper similar to ETH and WETH, so that you convert it into the xERC20, and then it's done. It's really, it's been it is a standard. It's been battle tested already by several projects. There is more than $800 million in xERC20 tokens across Web3. So it's very easy. There is a lot of tooling, a lot of guides online, and a lot of adoption already.
So just to walk through the dev journey a bit, so they integrate the xERC20 protocol, and they enable this incredible functionality for cross-chain transactions for all of their users. Correct?
Yes, it's really not a protocol. It's like it's a token standard. So it's like you
Oh,
have your
sorry. Yeah.
smart contract, right? So you have similar to the ERC20, which is a token standard. You have to respond to similar to some predefined functionalities. But once you've done that, so once you have the token standard, then the token already exists and then you're live. And then at that point, you just have to set up the bridges that you want to work with, and then you are able to move the token around with those bridges. It's extremely lean, and that was exactly the idea, right? Let's keep it as simple as straightforward as possible. But then
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
enable really open composability. This can work with any type of bridge in Web3 space, old one, new ones. There is really no limitation, whether it's a third-party bridge, whether it's a native bridge, so the canonical bridges of the different rollups. It can work everywhere.
So that's all. That's super cool. Okay, so I think most of the people listening would not be devs. I wanted to go over the dev experience, but from the user experience, is the process similar? So I go to a platform, I go to Connext, I'm connecting my send, the wallet that funds are coming from, the wallet that they're going to. I have to click on the chains. Is it a similar UX?
Exactly the same as it would imagine being on a bridge, on any bridge. Like, as a user, you don't notice the difference. It's really about selecting the token that you want to bridge, and then the chains for the origin and destination, and then move that. Again, the bridge UI is something that long term is going to disappear, because it's going to gradually be embedded within app themselves. So user will not have to go through leave the website where they want to actually operate on, let's say the Aave of the turn, to go to a bridge UI, but everything will be embedded directly into the app. But yes, from a user experience, seamless. Right now, it is as seamless as any other cross-chain token.
Beautiful. And does Connext bring any speed efficiencies? Do we still have to wait 20 minutes or an hour or 3 hours for the process to complete?
Yes, so we have built what is now called an intent-based bridge, where the user expressed the need to move a token from one chain to another one. And on the destination chain, there is a liquidity provider, so somebody, an entity that is watching this transaction coming from one chain to another one, from the origin chain, and says, "Hey, you might have to wait, a few hours, I don't know, 7 days if you're going out of a canonical bridge of a roll up." In order to complete your transactions, don't wait. We will give you the cash immediately. We will front the cash, so we'll fulfill this intent. These entities are called solvers, and then we will wait for the refund as a refund from the protocol that is actually moving the tokens. So the beauty of it is that transactions can get completed really fast. Right now, our average transaction is around 150 seconds. We're trying to bring it down to 20. And so the experience becomes very, very nice for users. They can go quickly and cheaply from one chain to another one, and then just go and ape whatever they want.
20 seconds is unheard of. 150 seconds is unheard of. That is so contrary to the average bridge experience right now. This is going to be so huge. And last month, I think it's important to note that you guys facilitated more than $1 billion in volume. So catch us up to speed on what kind of activity you're seeing now and what kind of growth you've already witnessed.
Yes. So as a little bit of context, Connext has been around for a while. The project was actually born in 2017. Imagine, so this is like our third or fourth cycle where we're playing around with these cross-chain environments. So we learned a lot, and we are focusing on cross-chain applications. Again, the idea that applications can create these chain abstracted experiences, so experiences where users do not have to think about the chains where they're operating, the chains where they have to go. We can really operate within applications rather than as a simple bridge. And so yes, in the last 3 months, really our volume has exploded. Last month we did more than 1 billion. We we saw a few integrations going live that we were really excited. We're really pioneered in the space. One of them, I think, is one of the most successful use cases. It's called Restake from Anywhere, and it's around of course, the risk-taking, the risk-taking projects that have gone live in the last month that are built on top of EigenLayer. As a recap for people that are not familiar, EigenLayer allows you to restake your ETH, so basically lock it down so that it can be used to provide security to other projects that wants to rent it from EigenLayer. And a few projects have gone live that offer liquid risk taking, so the ability to um, basically risk take your ETH and receive a receipt in exchange, which is called an LRT, liquid risk take token. Now, what was the issue before what Connext built was that risk taking needs to be done on mainnet because EigenLayer by definition can only exist on mainnet. And so a lot of the users were unfortunately cut out of this LRT economy because you could only restake on Ethereum where we know that fees are high and it's slow, and so it's not the ideal experience for users with limited funds. And so what we did, we built an experience together with some LRT projects, in particular Renzo, to create the ability for users to restake their ETH from any layer 2. And so what the result in is that the user sends their ETH on the layer 2, let's say on Arbitrum, and that ETH is then bridged. So they receive, they send ETH on Arbitrum, and they immediately receive their LRT on Arbitrum itself. And this is super mind-blowing for the user because all of a sudden they don't have to touch mainnet. Their fees are extremely low. They have a super fast and smooth experience. And what happens in the background is that all the ETH that the users are sending on Arbitrum is actually accumulated into a vault and then bridged by Renzo, by Connext to mainnet, where it's actually restaked, and so the cycle is complete. But from the user perspective, it doesn't have to think about it. It doesn't have to touch the mainnet. It doesn't have to incur into the fees on mainnet. And so we've seen a huge explosion of this type of use case. Today, I think we brought in the last 3 months only, we brought 800 million of these in dollars of these LRTs across various layer two ecosystems, so just to prove that yes, we are on the right track of abstracting completely chains for users and creating these new type of cross-chain applications that were not possible before.
That's huge. That is so huge. So users can get easy ETH. They can stake their ETH without touching layer one, without paying gas fees, and still get this dual yield from securing two different chains.
Exactly. They get yield on the layer two, whatever they want to hold it. That's the beauty of it, right? If they want to move it somewhere else, they can do it, and they never have to touch mainnet if they don't want to, which is the world where we're heading to, right? Mainnet, Ethereum mainnet will only be used by institution, whales, big applications like the layer two themselves, but the normal retail users will be on Arbitrum, will be on Base, and will be on the different layer twos.
It's so exciting, man. I would think this restaking use case is just going to absolutely blow up. What chains are? Tell everyone what chains are live now. You guys are adding chains all the time. What chains are live on mainnet at the moment?
Yes, we are on 10 chains right now. Our initial focus has been on the major layer twos like Optimism, Arbitrum, and now Base, but we are also on Polygon, Gnosis Chain, BNB, Mode, let me see, and Linea. Yes, and Linea. And the idea is that we are expanding to more chains as time goes on. And with our upcoming V3, which is going live in July, which is we're extremely excited about, we'll be really be able to add new chains at a very different pace. We're expecting to be able to add them one every day. And so the idea is that by the end of the year, we'll be around on around 50 chains, more or less, which is extremely exciting and on a different scale to where we are today.
That's huge. Will they all have to be EVM compatible?
No, actually they won't. We are looking at Solana, we're looking at Tron, we're looking at Ton. It does require more engineering effort from our side if it's not EVM compatible, simply because EVM it's more like of a it's more standardized in terms of tooling and what we need to do, but it's not a limitation of the system anymore with our V3.
That's the final frontier, is true cross EVM compatibility, I think, as well. And where are you seeing a lot of the flows come from? Like, which chains are the most popular at the moment?
So we've seen a lot of traffic around Arbitrum simply because it's a big hub for DeFi and volumes in general. Base got a lot of traction and Mode as well. And in general, all the chains that are hinting or suggesting there might be an airdrop or some points. I think they saw some good, some good traction, some good results.
That's great. That's great. Good to hear. Okay, so in this seamless cross-chain world that you're building, how do you view the data security, Max? This is probably the primary user issue with bridges, as you've brought up, right? So how do you view data security in this process?
Yeah, I think security has been one of the key pillars of Connext since the start. Right, we wanted to be as trust minimized, as trustless as possible, and so this is where like a lot of the differentiator comes when we talk about cross chain. The difficult part with cross chain is that it's very easy to create a bridge if you decide to create a third party entity, basically that just wants to connect two different chains. You can simply set up a multi-sig potentially, right? That watches what happens on one chain and it says, yes, something can happen on the destination chain, right? I can burn the tokens here and mint the token on the destination chain. The issue is that this third party then becomes the weak spot. Now you have two blockchains that are secure, and all of a sudden you have this third party that can be hacked, bribed, manipulated, and so can really screw up all the tokens and all the ecosystem. And so this multi-sig in a different way can be an oracle, can be a set of validators, which is a micro blockchain. And this is an issue because these entities that are verifying the transactions are become in charge of what can happen to an ecosystem and what can happen to those tokens. And so for us, because data security has been a huge priority, um, we've always been focusing on trust minimizing the transactions and trust minimizing the cross-chain transactions. And so what we do right now, we basically wrap the native bridges of the different chains that are connected to Ethereum, and we pass the messages through those native bridges. So if you want to go from Arbitrum to Optimism, our message will wrap the native bridge of Arbitrum. So it will go through the native bridge of Arbitrum from Arbitrum to Ethereum, um, and then from Ethereum to Optimism by the same native bridge. And this is how we can keep the system secure. Now, because this flow will be very slow, we have this intent layer on top of it, which is what I was describing before, where a liquidity provider fronts the cash to users, uh, and so they don't have to wait for the 7 days that will be required when going out of a native bridge. The liquidity provider simply fronts the cash to the user and said, "Hey, here's your tokens. Go and do what you want. I will wait for the slow path that's underneath coming by the native bridges, and basically charge a micro fee from it." And so I think this is it's been the key pillar of Connext data security. But the other area where I can see increasing interest for users in particular, but also applications, is around data security in the sense of privacy, right? It's something that you guys are pioneering, but you shouldn't expose what you're doing on chain if you don't want to, right? Or to entities that are not authorized. And so this is what innovations like my network are enabling, and I think this will be the next frontier of on-chain transactions in general and cross-chain on-chain in particular.
Yeah, that's really exciting too. How does the and this is why we were so excited to speak with you guys, because we saw an ability there to offer users an extra layer of confidentiality so that not every single thing you do in Web3 is public all the time, which it currently is. Um, so do the liquidity providers in the system you just described work similarly to a pool where liquidity providers are basically paid for fronting cash? They get a little bit of a piece of the transaction. Is it a similar function?
Yeah, it's not a pool in a sense that it's a permissionless vault where everybody can deposit. It's more like an entity, let's say a market maker or somebody on the destination chain that is holding ETH. And then when he sees a transaction that is coming in their direction, so from somewhere else onto the chain, they can say, "Hey, you don't have to wait for 7 days. I will give you this 10 ETH, 1 ETH that you want to bridge, and I will take 0.05% as a commission." So that's what they do. They are these off-chain agents. They're monitoring the transactions and are able to front the cash and then receive a refund from the protocol.
Gotcha. And that's user generated, or who are the LPs?
It's whoever wants really. It needs to be a little bit more sophisticated because they have to run what we call a router, so a bot
Okay.
basically that is able to monitor the transactions and front its cash. But the entry layer, the entry barrier is very, very low. It's really, we want to really decentralize the system, make it extremely accessible to everyone, because it's a very profitable way to add return, add yield on top of your assets. Imagine that in the last month, I think these liquidity providers on Connext, on Arbitrum, for example, have been earning around 80% APY on top of ETH, which is which is
Wow.
crazy to think about. And that's how capital efficient our system is, because the liquidity continuously get recycled, so they can basically continuously front cash to users. And that's how much demand there was in the past month and a half.
That statistic is a great endorsement, standalone. It really is. So yeah, tell everybody, Max, how they can interact now. I mean, everything is up and running. Everybody can go to bridge.connext.network. I've been using this bridge; it's awesome. But how would you like people to kind of interact with Connext?
Yes, so it depends what role you are playing in Web3, right? If you're a user, I will recommend you to check the bridge.connext.network website. It's our bridge UI, and so it will show you that the bridging, the price, basically the rates that you get when you try to bridge different tokens, and especially if you bridge ETH. Right now, there are some great rates where you might end up getting even more ETH on a destination chain compared to where you send. And this is because there's been an imbalance flow in one direction. So we're trying to rebalance basically the liquidity in the opposite direction. And so if you want to bridge, for example, from Ethereum to Mode, which is a layer 2 part of the optimism OP stack, you get more ETH than what you get. On Arbitrum, I think right now it's basically free to bridge into Connext, especially for this reason. And so it's really exciting, like, to see what you can do. You can also try risk taking from anywhere. Go to the rensoprotocol.com website, and then you can try to risk take your ETH from any chain that is using Connext underneath. Instead, if you're a builder, if you're building something and you think that we can work together because you want to access the liquidity, the users, the data that exists on different chains, let's chat. Please get in touch. And yeah, we can build some new applications together. We can bring you the next billion volume to you. And that will be extremely exciting and something that we're willing to explore.
That's awesome. So exciting. Look, just to recap for people that came in late. So Connext has 10 chains operating right now that you can bridge to and from. They just added Metis. We love Metis. Those are our buddies over there. Mode Network as well as Base. The volume has grown exponentially. I think you did $1 billion last month in volume with near 100% uptime. This restaking from anywhere feature is super exciting. This is just awesome. So restaking without having to touch Ethereum's base layer. So that means you save on the gas fees, you still get the dual yield from securing due to two different protocols with your stake token. That's through your partnership with Renzo. Super exciting restaking project. And anyone that's really interested and wants to nerd out can check out this xERC20 token, which blew my mind the first time I read the docs. So we'll put those links under the video here. But Max, I can't thank you enough for coming today, man. We're so excited to be working with you guys. Anything else that you'd like to share with the community? So general news they should look out for, any announcements?
Well, V3 is coming out end of June, early July, so expect some pre-announcements before. This is going to be mind-blowing from a lot of aspects. We expect to grow a lot from it. And so this is what we're really excited about. And then we are also launching a few other applications in the coming months. So please stay tuned, follow the Connext page. And yes, the best is yet to come.
I love it. Hey, am I going to see you in Consensus, by the way?
We'll try to be there. Yes, yes.
All right, my network will be a Consensus, man. It'd be great to link up there. We'll get some
Fantastic.
drinks. We'll do some events. It'll be fun, man. Okay, well, I hope to see you soon. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for inviting us, and a pleasure. Thank you, Chris.